Hey, this is Giang Nguyen, and you're listening to the Immi-Wealth Builder podcast, where we celebrate incredible immigrant success stories, share proven strategies, and give you actionable steps to build your wealth, freedom, and a lasting legacy. Let's go get it. Today we have with us Dr. Rachel Gainsbrugh, and she is a successful investor. She's a smart business owner, a passionate educator, and just all around wonderful friend and supporter that you want to have in your corner. I'm super excited to have her here with us today. With that, I'm just gonna pass over and let Rachel introduce herself, where she's from, what she's up to, what her journey leading up to this point. Rachel, take it away.
Thank you so much for having me, by the way, Yang. I am so honored to be here on this show today. I know how much effort and energy and coordination comes to putting a podcast together. So, guys, if you're listening, share this out with your people. Let them get some of the value that is going to be disseminated on this show as well as other episodes. So I just wanted to start off there. But a little bit about me, Yang. Haiti born, immigrant from Haiti, was raised in the inner city of Miami. I did all the things, got the straight A's, went out and got my doctorate degree, but ended up with a crushing $500,000 in student loan debt. So from that perspective, I was like, okay, how do I get my handle on this? And I'm good with research. So I delved into the world of Dave Ramsey. I was like, Dave Ramsey, coffee and beans, and no Starbucks, no nothing. And I started to make some traction, right? When you're in your most desperate situation, I think Dave Ramsey does a good job with, offense, right? But I truly believe that what got me here wouldn't get me there. So as I started to plug away with Dave Ramsey and start making a difference in that realm, I started to see that, okay, what is my future me going to look like? What is that vision for myself? What is really my goals? Initially, my goal was I just want to stop working these 14-hour shifts. I want to be able to pick up my kid from school on Thursdays. I want to get this albatross of debt out from around my neck. But then with the plan, if I continued on his plan, I would have ended up with a zero net worth, which he touts as like, hooray, zero net worth. But it didn't taste that great to me. And so I started to do some research. And I remember a girlfriend of mine from my neighborhood, she was telling me about how her mother-in-law is making money through real estate in a town like South in Florida, creating short-term rentals. So I started researching that a little bit. I started researching all sorts of real estate investing strategies. And I stumbled upon Bigger Pockets. And let me tell you, I took my Dave Ramsey hat off and I put on my Bigger Pockets hat on, and I became obsessed with figuring out how to get into real estate. I had looked into cryptocurrency. I had looked into all these other strategies. I was like, none of that makes sense, but real estate, I understand. It's a building, it's a house. I can touch, I can feel it. That felt like, okay, I actually understand this, And so fast forward to today, I bought my first single family home, set it up, furnished it, set it up as a short-term rental. And for me, at that point in my life, I wasn't looking for passive income per se. I was looking for aggressive income. So with the short-term rentals, we got some good income in. We went ahead and got a second property. By the second property, my husband was able to retire from his W-2. He was a psychotherapist. He, used to work with at-risk youth at one of the public school systems. So that was very, very stressful to him. And so from there, we were featured on a Netflix TV show because of our rentals and the revenue on the background. And then we created our two-door strategy. So we focused on less is more. Our theory is that you can do a lot with just two doors, two properties, if it's well positioned, if it's curated correctly, because I saw what it did for my husband. Yeah. And now for me, and now for many women who are burnt out inside of our community.
Wow, Rachel. Oh my goodness. So much you unpacked. So much you unpacked. And so many good gems. See what I did there? So many good gems coming out of it. You're smart. You're learning. You're going through these things. And as a part of it, what I really want to point the listener to think more about is that continuous asking of like, what is all this for? Like, is this a good fit? Like, you learned Dave Ramsey. It worked for you. And then at some point you go, wait, something just doesn't feel quite right. And that got you to pivot. And that's growth. So if you're listening and you're like, I've been on this path and something just doesn't feel quite right, listen to that. That's exactly what Rachel did. And that's what got her here. Yeah. So don't be afraid to listen to that little voice that's telling you, hey, something is just not it. This life is not what I want, that busy, not spending time with family. That's not what I want. So let me
No
see what works.
coffee. You don't get
I know.
good coffee.
Like,
Like,
no, no,
come
no.
on.
Come on. We're here for more than that. We're here to enjoy life, not just skip
Yeah.
coffee. So I
Yes.
love that.
And you know what? If I can chime in real quick, Yang,
Absolutely.
I think that's what they call the sunken cost fallacy. It's like, I've gotten so far
Mm-hmm.
in, I don't want to look back. She has a whole doctorate,
Yep.
but you're burnt out to the crisp, right?
Yeah, I love that. I took microeconomics one semester in college, and
There you
that was
go.
something I always refer back to. Hey, it's already gone, right? It's already gone. So a lot of our listener might
Mm.
be in similar boat, right? They got
Yeah.
crushing student debt because all of us value education. That was the path that we
Mhm.
were put on. Work hard, get a good degree, get a good job, and then what? How would you suggest that they get started with that first property that is now just no longer being on a defense strategy like Dave Ramsey, right? But being on the offense, being on building the wealth path.
Yeah. So the first thing I would say to them is like, get a hold of your finances. Don't be afraid to look at it in the eye and just to get an understanding of where your numbers are. The beauty of being in healthcare and in the medical realm, whether you're a doctor, a pharmacist, a dentist, is we have that clinical income, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just because I quit, that's not what I recommend. Do not go out and rage quit. The fact that you have that income actually helps you to secure cheap money,
Mm-hmm.
secure a better loans. So know that that's out there and just get a hold of all the ankle biters that are happening right now in your finances. So I'm not a financial coach or anything, but a girlfriend of mine, Dr. Latifah, she says just start to cancel your cards and tell them it lost card. And that is her life hack to just cleaning everything up. You start to see the subscriptions that are kind of bouncing and you're like, oh yeah, I didn't really need that anyway. So if you need to clean house, do some of that because there are subscriptions that we don't need. And I know there are apps that are helping with that. And there's going to be AI tools that are helping with that. From there, believe it or not, all you need is anywhere from 3.5 to 5% to 10% down. Okay. So if we were to do the math, when we're purchasing, yesterday's prices aren't today's prices, so don't come for me. We're purchasing properties for 175,000 to 462,000. That's how we built our portfolio initially. So one of our short-term rentals, say it was 290,000,
Love it.
and 5% of that is 14,500.
She did the
Right?
math for
14.
us, y'all. She did the math for
Yeah,
us.
I did the math. The reason is that I want to show you what's possible. So
Yeah.
now that you have a number,
Mm-hmm.
you have something a little bit more tangible. I'm a spreadsheet girl, I'm a numbers girl. When I see it, I'm like, okay, what would need to be true for me to get to that number?
Mm-hmm.
And I was not afraid of picking up an extra overtime shift here and there.
Mm-hmm.
And so we piled up cash, and came up with that first down payment. And that's really how we got started. We furnished that first rental with a rich neighborhood
Yeah.
and Facebook Marketplace. And they're like, oh, we're moving to a condo in Hawaii. We can't take it with us. We went there, gave them $10,000. We cleaned up the whole house. We got
Amazing.
everything. 4 bedrooms of furnishings. Everything was designer grade, coordinated. Let me tell you, it was
Love
like a
it.
gift. We piled up cash for that. We were able to borrow against our 401k. There was
Mm-hmm.
some type of stipulation. We cobbled together some bonus checks as
Mm.
well. Yang, you asked me to be very like open about it. This
Yeah.
is what we did. We're not
Love it.
talking high level. We're getting
Yeah.
granular. So we cobbled everything together.
Mm.
And that is how we were able to come up with that 14,500 to get us started, as well as the 10,000 for the furnishings. And we launched within 30 days. Our very first booking was $6,200, and our mortgage was $1,500 a month.
Ooh. Happy dance. Happy dance. Oh my goodness.
Right?
Wow. I love that.
I was hooked. I was like, can we do this again?
Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
Okay, let me point a couple of things there because so many good points there. The first piece that you point out is if our listener have W2, leverage that, right?
Yes.
You guys already work so hard to build that
Mhm.
skill set to build this high earning salary. Leverage
Mhm.
that. That's your partner to be able to build wealth from there. So leverage your W2. Don't rage quit. Second piece there is just take a look at your finance, right? The unknown always seems a bit scarier. So be able to look those numbers, just
Mm-hmm.
knowing that whatever it's at will really help you propel forward. So just
Yeah.
know where you're at. And everybody
Mm.
have resources, whether they're just
Yes.
getting started, whether they brand new or whether they're experienced, everybody has resources that they can tap into. There is an investment out there that work as any number. So Rachel just told you her first one was like 290K for purchase. And I know this
Mm-hmm.
was a while back, right? But guys, there
Yeah.
are 290K purchase still available to this day. So wherever
Mm-hmm.
your budget looks like, there is an option out there for you to start building wealth, for you to start that first investment that's
Yeah.
gonna get you hooked, that's gonna get you like, let's do this again because this seems
Yes.
great. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So many good gems.
And I want to chime in because
Yeah.
they're going to come for us. They're going to come for us and they're going to say, oh, she just said 5% down. Yes, there was a local credit union in my town that gave me a
Yes.
5% down loan. Everyone's thinking you need 20% down, 25% down. So, Yang, I don't want them
Ooh.
coming after us saying, okay, that sounds shady. Check with your local credit unions. You never know. You never know.
I love that you pointed out. It's like, guys, this is real. Not making this up. People may not know that was available. When I started investing as an immigrant, I hear no a lot because I was not
Yeah.
on the right visa to actually borrow money. I'm based out of Philly. So I made a list from Philly, New Jersey, all this around, and I talked to 77 credit unions and banks to find people
Wow.
that would lend, right? So there are people out there
You
that would
see?
lend for you. So yeah, do the work. Or the other thing that you can do is join different Facebook groups.
Yeah.
Ask people like Rachel who already done what you want to do. There are resources out there that's ready to support you. Man, Rachel, love that. Okay, so now that you got your first property, you got hooked, what's next? Like maybe people already have
Yeah.
one, they got hooked. Now how do they grow from there?
So from there, I thought to myself, okay, I want more
Mm,
and I want to see what would it look like if we went a little bit bigger.
mm,
So the next property, there's some convoluted stuff in between where we leverage what is called a house hack with our primary property. We had a guest suite with an exterior entry. You can imagine this is a different type of a duplex type of
mm,
property, but it's a single family home, but the guest suite was really separate but
mm.
attached. So the guest suite, we leveraged that and we started renting it out. I was looking like, okay, this piece of paper here, I want to rent it out. This
Yeah.
over here, I want to rent. Like I wanted to rent everything out. Like I just never in my life, Yang, had something bringing in money to me without me punching a clock.
Love it.
Okay. So
That's
so for me,
powerful.
it was like, this is how the other side is doing it. I
Hmm.
want more. So my son, he's about to graduate from high school. And so we're looking to get him his first house hack and teach him how to manage and how to be hospitable. We would purchase a 3-bedroom home using a solo 401k or a 4-bedroom home or a 5-bedroom home near his school. He lives in 1 bedroom, but he's responsible for the mortgage every month by renting it out to the other guests or the other classmates,
Love
so to
it.
speak. So essentially, that's a house hack. You live in a
Yes.
portion of the property and you rent out another portion of the property. So it's important
Mm,
that I believe with investing, we go a little bit deep before we go wide,
mm,
right?
mm,
So I didn't necessarily, I like it here. So I'm going to go and find 8 different other markets. No,
mm, mm.
I had a cleaning team that I built
Yeah.
now. I have my 2 maintenance guys who are awesome. I've got my plumber. Why not replicate this same strategy in the same market? So a few miles down, we purchased another property. We leverage a 10% down loan, and this was called a second home
Hmm.
loan. Typically, according to what everyone's going to say, oh, you can't buy with that loan in the same neighborhood unless it's 50 miles apart. But because this particular property sat like on a lake, it's considered a different market. So the mileage constraints did not apply. And it comes from calling 27 lenders to find one that would approve me for that particular type of loan. Because I kept hearing no, no,
Yeah, yeah.
no. And I don't take no for an answer like you, Yang.
Mm.
From there, we found another property. It was a bit larger.
Okay.
So we came from 4 bedroom. Now this is a 6 bedroom. Now I placed it on the platform Airbnb. And also we do month to month midterm rentals.
Mhm.
So I placed it on the platform and I turned on all of my AI. So the way I'm able to manage, like I'm a mom, I have a whole husband, I have two kids, I have three dogs. Like, no, I can't be in the trenches every single day. So I use automations, I use team, I use AI so that I can have the breathing room. And so when I turn on the AI that manages the nightly pricing and updates it every night, I know that sometimes it overshoots, sometimes it undershoots. I have to teach the AI and kind of train it.
Mm-hmm.
And in my mind, since the first property was making 6,500 ish, this one I was thinking 8,500. So I was like, ooh, it's gonna be 8,500. Crazy story. I turned it on for 30-night minimum. It priced the property at $28,000. And I was like, okay, this thing is absolutely broken. Let me turn it off so that I can train it to 8,500 and get it going. Before I turned it off, it got booked.
Thanks, AI.
Thanks, AI, because Rachel, little girl from Haiti, with her money trauma, with all of her baggage, could not even perceive, dare I think someone has $10,000. Like, who has $10,000 a month to pay? Not in the books, not even in my mind. So I'm going to train the AI down to 8,000 when that property had the potential to make 28,000. And at that night when it got booked, Yang, I laid in bed and I asked myself, and I started to take an inventory of my life. And I asked myself, where else am I playing small in life?
Mm, 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 mm.
That was an aha moment. So what I learned from that interaction is I'm thinking about, we don't know people in our actual immediate day-to-day life. I know we're part of big masterminds, but people that we grew up with who can pay 28,000. Well, it turns out it's not a person, corporations, the filming industry. It was the executive director of the filming industry, insurance companies. When you're dealing with corporations, it's not an individual. So it's a whole different ball game that I didn't know about until that experience.
Wow, that is a powerful experience, Rachel. And I love how
Yes.
you are able to take a look at it and actually be able to take stock. That might be okay, great, that happened, cool, move on. But that actually prompt you to ask, what else am I limiting myself? What else
Oh,
is the universe is actually want to give me more? But I'm like, no, 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 this is my bubble and I'm good here. What else is that happening? I also want to circle back to a point you said earlier, like you see everything as asset. You see everything
mhm.
as, hey, what is something that can bring me in the cash flow instead of
Yeah.
me trading my hours for money? What else can work for me while I sleep, while I spend
Yeah.
time with a whole husband, kids, and three dogs and all that jazz, right? Man, I love
Yes.
that. So that
Yeah.
was a happy accident that got you like, okay, great. Corporate renting. This seems like a
Yes.
good thing that's happening. How then you
Hmm.
take advantage of that?
Yeah, absolutely. And you remind me of the quote that I read. I remember I was working full time, overtime. At one point, my husband and I were working five jobs between the two of us when
Wow.
we were on the Dave Ramsey train. And I saw a quote from Warren Buffett that says, if you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you will work until you die. And that struck a chord because I felt like I'm dying. Like, it was so many hours, Yank. I was like, I actually feel like I'm dying, you know? So it struck a chord. And that's why you're right. It's almost like your reticular activating system, right? I was like, okay, figured out a way to make money while I sleep because our very first booking happened at 3 in the morning while we were asleep. And it was like, holy
Everything is
cow.
connected.
It's connected. Yeah. So I wanted to do more and more of that. And so I started to ask the questions, okay, where else are these opportunities? And we started to get those opportunities from the midterm rental insurance
Mm-hmm.
policyholder guests. And we're actually doing a training in regards to what has happened to Palisades in California. Everywhere you return, there's either a natural disaster or an accidental disaster.
Mm-hmm.
And those families who are displaced from their homes, they need a home to stay in for
Mm-hmm.
3 months, 6 months. Palisades, it's going to be 12 months,
Yeah.
18 months, 24 months to build back if they so choose, right? This is a strategy that does not take into consideration epidemics, pandemics.
Mm-hmm.
There's no seasonality with it year round. It could be as benign as a water pipe that
Mm-hmm.
bursts in your property. Like it or not,
Yep.
the contractors, there are delays, 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 permitting delays. So it takes 6 months to fix a water pipe that bursts. But a fire, my goodness, fire, 13 months is the shortest amount
Oh,
of time
wow.
I've seen for fire damage repair. And while they are undergoing repair, Those families need nice, safe, comfortable homes to stay in
Mm-hmm.
while their property is getting rebuilt, and they want to stay in proximity to their current home.
Mm-hmm.
I think, according to Scientific American, 6 million families were displaced from their home in America in 2023. A clientele that we know very well. We've been
Mm-hmm.
serving them since 2018, and we're super passionate about serving them. And the insurance pays quite well.
Wow, awesome. So, obviously, we're in an environment where there are unfortunately more and more natural disasters happening, and that's happened all across the US. So, it
Yes.
is unfortunate, and you can be there to support families through that, right? This is doing well by doing good, right? But there's also a
Yeah.
lot of things that just happen out of the blue, like what you say,
Yep.
Rachel. Pipes work, fire, all that's happening, and that can happen anywhere. So it sounds like for that strategy, midterm rental for insurance anywhere in the US would probably be
Yeah.
a good market. And what I'm hearing,
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, Richard, is like the sub-market. You want to be in a safe neighborhood. That is typically where people should be looking. Family wise, if you look at the asset, is this mainly single family? Like how many bedroom or single family? Tell me a bit more about the asset people might want to look for.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, I have the two-door strategy. Love the less is more strategy just because, again, the women in our community, they're super busy.
Mm-hmm.
So the focus is two highly curated properties in great schools, great neighborhoods. It could be B neighborhoods. I don't mind a little bit of a B neighborhood, B property because I'm going to get a good deal on it.
Yeah.
And some of the houses are a little older, so there's opportunity to help when a pipe bursts, right? But I love when we are nearby areas with great schools. If we're not directly in the district, we're in the neighboring district. That is the formula to get the biggest bang for your buck, specifically with one bedroom on the main level so that we can accommodate granny or some family members with mobility limitations, a special needs family member. So
Okay.
having one bedroom on the main level is really important, a full bathroom on the main level. Sometimes we don't find that, so we don't mind building out a full bath.
Mm.
So that's essentially my buy box, to be honest. So I'm spilling all the tea on the show today. So be sure to share with your friends. And the reason is that those are the asset class that I have seen get the biggest bang for the buck.
Yeah.
I'm talking about bookings that are anywhere from $8,000 to $16,000
Wow.
for properties that were purchased for $300,000 to $450,000. I
Wow.
mean, if that's not a big bang for your buck, I don't know what is.
That's amazing.
However,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, however, I was just on a call yesterday with Gordon. He is getting $4,600 a month for a 3 bedroom in a gentrified up and coming neighborhood where the typical rents are around $1,100 a month. So he was very happy with his $4,600 a month.
Why?
It was a bizarre booking. I've never heard of this one before. I've had the car crash through the house type of booking. That's going to need some repairs, right?
Yeah.
So turns out someone came to pressure wash this family's home and they pressure washed it so hard that water had seeped through the property and
Oh.
they have mold. Have you ever heard that
Nope.
before? So he got a 6 month booking because of that. Like that's bizarre. And those are the things that everyone's like, well, I don't live where hurricanes or fires or earthquakes. Yeah, but you live where someone might over pressure wash a property, right?
That is bizarre. I have not heard that much of pressure washing.
What
Wow.
happened?
That is wild. I do want to go back to the asset because I love
Yes.
that you spilling all the deeds. And I love that you mentioned very specific thing like having one bedroom, one full bathroom on the main floor. If not, maybe consider
Yes.
building that. Is it mainly like 3 to 4 bedroom or 4 to 5?
I love a good 4+ bedroom
Four
for
plus bedroom.
sure.
Interesting.
But here's what I want to tell you,
Yeah.
Ying. Everyone, if you're listening right now, start with where you are. Tony, he's in Long Beach, California. He has a 2 bedroom condo. We just got him a $4,600 per month booking. He's so happy with it. And the property is elderly folks. I forget the extent of their damage,
Uh,
but they were worried because it's upstairs. Well, he has an elevator. And
mm,
so it works. It doesn't matter what
love
you
it.
have, it's going to work. But I wanted to give some gems and say, okay, if you're
Yes.
starting from scratch, here's what you need to target. But if you have a property right now, it should work because at the end of the day, you're serving whoever is in that proximity of that property. So the people who are in his condo, they're coming coming from a duplex, the people who are maybe in a townhouse, they don't mind a condo. You know what I mean?
Love
So
it.
it works. It works wherever.
Awesome.
But if you're starting from scratch, you say, I'm going to do one deal this year. I need to make it a banger. Let's go for a 4 bedroom, a 5 bedroom, if you could squeak it in.
Love it. This is why
Yeah.
I'm saying she would be like the biggest supporter you want to have in your corner. Because if you hear throughout this conversation, first of all, she works with what is available. If you start from scratch, sure, this is what you do. But what I really want to emphasize is that you have exactly what you need to start this strategy. Can I just ask what profile of investor this might not be a good fit for? Is that a thing?
Oh, that's a great question. Let me talk about the asset class actually
Yeah.
for a regulatory perspective. So,
Yeah.
if you're in a market where there's regulation and bans on short term rentals, and you think to yourself, you know what, I'm just going to go in that market and launch like just straight up midterm rentals, you can do it, but you have to have nerves of steel. So, if you are that avatar or that type of investor who does not have nerves of steel, who's very impatient, who's going to freak out if you're sitting there for 2 weeks and there's no bookings, this is not for you. I tell my members, you need to do this in markets where both short and midterm rentals are possible. And I had like 9 days of vacancy last year. And those 9 days, they were burning me up. I was like, I need those 9 days booked. And so, because of that, you see how greedy I am,
I think that's the
right?
Dave Ramsey speaking through.
Yes. Yes. So I was able to leverage a few, I think it was 4 days of bookings using the short term rental strategy. And so I would say, being mindful, I don't think it's a cure all for where there are significant bans. If your market has regulations, that's okay. I sign up for the permit, just do the thing. A lot of people aren't even willing to do the thing. So do the thing, get your permits. You should be good to go so that you can leverage the hybrid model so that you can feel comfortable with the in between vacancies. You can get a couple guests in there.
Love it.
The other avatar that it may not be good for is an avatar, or what did you call it? A client profile
Yeah,
or
like a
investor
profile,
profile?
investor profile.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I like the
So the
avatar too. It's a good word.
Okay. Yeah, so the investor profile that it wouldn't be good for is someone who doesn't see themselves as, I would say, being able to either curate an assistant or someone to help out with hospitality, or if they themselves are not very hospitable. Okay. So, what I love about working with doctors and medical professionals and pharmacists and dentists, we're already providing a ton of patient care. What's unusual to me, Ying, and what surprised me about this strategy is those same patient care attributes have translated to guest care. So my same doctor's like, I don't want to deal with guests. I don't know if I can handle it. They're obsessed. They're like, did they see the new popcorn machine that I placed? I said, look at you. Look at you. So they really, really care. So if you're like, I don't really care about people that much, I want you to understand it is a longer booking, but this is a hospitality business,
Love it.
and being hospitable is absolute key. So if that's not your cup of tea, then look elsewhere, because it is a hospitality business for sure.
I love that. Okay, that's great to know. And I know you were talking about the two-door strategy, which sounds
Yes.
amazing. I love this less to more approach. Talk me through a little more about this two-door strategy. Give some deets.
Yeah, the reason I like the two-door strategy is if I am cash flowing anywhere from 3,500 to 4,500 to 5,500 plus per month with one property, and then I'm able to replicate that in the same town locally. I've already built my team. Now I'm bringing home essentially a 10K per month. That will make my life, right? When my W 2 was paying me, my very first year out of school, I was getting paid about 6K per month take home after all the things were taken out, right? And so 10K changed my life. It made me feel like, wow, I have some options right now. I get to create my own destiny. I get to pick up my kid from school on Thursdays. This is where I have seen a lot of people in our community be able to shift to cut down to half time or to take a sabbatical for a few months and determine where they want to be next, what they want to do to be able to work on their time, on their dime. The two doors is where we get started.
I love it. I just want to point out two things. Start where you at, right? You have everything you need. That's what Rachel's telling you. You have everything you need. And two, the goal is closer than you think. We're not talking about 100 door each cash flowing $100 or $200. We're talking about 2 doors to build that 10K per month and be able to be there for your kids, be able to actually build this life that you want. So this is so powerful, Rachel. And I'm so grateful that you're here to share that with our audience. So every podcast, we have this random questions that was left by previous guests. So
Ooh.
now it's gonna randomize. I don't know what question I'm gonna ask you and find out. Okay, your question is, what's one lesson or principle you have learned on your journey that has had the greatest impact on how you approach both life and business?
Who, not how.
Love it.
Yeah, so that is coined from the book Who Not How by Dr. Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan. I think as immigrants, we're often the DIYers. We're going to figure out how to do it. And my biggest aha was when I determined, you know what, I need to find the who that already knows how to do it, as opposed to focusing on the how, right? I have my God-given gifts already, right? And someone else is gifted in this other area. And that alone has transitioned our businesses from 6 to 7 figures, finding the who. So who, not how.
Love it. Awesome. And Rachel has shared with us so many gems, and I would love for her to share a charity or cause that she's a champion of. So, Rachel, tell us, who can we support to thank you for your time today?
I love it. I would love to support Village Impact by Stu McLaren and Amy McLaren. They build schools in Kenya, and I absolutely love the work that they're doing. So, Village Impact is my choice.
Love it. And Rachel, how can our listener get in contact with you, follow your journey, know more about what you do, and just reach out to you overall?
Yeah, so I have a free resources, and once you get that, you get entered into my ecosystem. It's 75gems.com. This is a list that I curate every year where I'm showing the top cities where I invest in short and midterm rentals. So if you're curious about those markets that we were talking about a little bit earlier, head over to 75gems.com.
Amazing. And I will also put that in the show note for sure. All right, Rachel, thank you so much for being here with us today. Thank you so much for all the gems you drop and really appreciate all your time, your effort. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Bye bye for now.